The U.S. House of Representatives appears to be on the verge of approving a bill to avert a federal government shutdown. The pared-down plan winning support from both Democrats and Republicans after Donald Trump set off a scramble here in Washington when he tanked a previously negotiated bipartisan deal. Let's get right to our chief congressional correspondent, Manu Raju, who is up on Capitol Hill. Manu, update our viewers on the very latest.
Yeah, this is on the verge of passing, Wolf, averting a scare at the last minute. A government shutdown just on the horizon in a matter of hours. But now the House is poised to pass this bill well over the threshold, the two-thirds majority needed to pass this bill that would keep the government open up until mid-March. Right now is a 366 to 34 vote. That's well over the 290 votes that would be needed, assuming all members are here and present. So that, and right now it looks like it's broken down. A lot of Republicans in favor of it. Well, 170 Republicans voting in the affirmative, just 34 voting against it. And the Democrats, more Democrats have supported this. In fact, 196 Democrats. There's not a single Democratic no vote. Now, this came all after a scare over the last several days, and then the aftermath of Donald Trump intervening late and scuttling a separate bipartisan deal that had been reached. It appeared to be on a glide path to becoming law. Trump demanding major changes, including an increase of the national debt limit, something he wanted off the table so he would have to deal with it in the next Congress. That is a perennially difficult issue for Congress to deal with. He didn't want to have to handle it. He said deal with it now, but Congress had a very difficult time in responding to that demand. In fact, a proposal backed by him yesterday failed. That went down with the opposition of 38 Republicans and Democrats because of that demand of Donald Trump's to include a national debt limit increase. So today, all day long, they've been negotiating behind closed doors, trying to figure out how to placate Donald Trump's concerns and win over Democrats as well. And it looks like, Wolf, that the gavel just came down and that this bill has, in fact, passed the House of Representatives. It will go over now to the Senate, and that's where they'll act on this later tonight, Wolf. So at the moment, this bill, which includes an extension of government funding up until mid-March, also aid to farmers, about $10 billion for farmers hit hard by difficult conditions around the country, and $100 billion or so for communities ravaged by natural disasters, all part of this bill. But that issue of the national debt limit was taken out of this bill and sent to deal with in the next Congress, putting that on Donald Trump's plate and really defying Donald Trump's public demands over that issue over the last several days. But Trump simply did not have the votes. The final vote, Wolf, was 366 to 34, passing this bill out of the House of Representatives just moments ago. 34 Republicans voted against it, and one Democrat voted present. The rest of the Democrats voted for it. So an overwhelming vote in the House of Representatives just hours before the shutdown deadline, and now on to the Senate, which will expect it to give overwhelming passage later tonight, Wolf.
So once the Senate passes it, this legislation later tonight, it'll then go to the White House, and then President Biden has to sign it into law. So it looks like it's a done deal that there won't be a federal government shutdown.
It very much does so, Wolf, and despite the scares here, and the question is going to be here about how Donald Trump was placated. Was he placated by the decision by the Speaker of the House, essentially, to pull out that demand of Donald Trump's to increase the national debt limit? That was a red line for Democrats. They did not want to give in on that because they see that as leverage they can use in the next Congress to fight the Trump agenda. And Donald Trump wanted it off the table. He said he, in fact, threatened to go after Republicans who opposed him on that issue and threatened them with primary challenges in their next elections. But some Republicans simply ignored that request, showing the limits of Donald Trump's power here on Capitol Hill. The question is going to be, how is Donald Trump? Is he okay with the Speaker taking that step? And what is his own path to power, to stay in power in the House? January 3rd, a key date to watch in just a couple of weeks. That's when the Speaker's race will occur on the floor of the House. A lot of Republicans were unhappy, particularly those on the far right of this House Republican Conference, unhappy with his handling of all of this. Several of them who I've talked to on the way up to votes would not commit to voting for him on January 3rd, Wolf, and he can only lose a couple of votes on the House floor to be reelected Speaker. So we'll see if Donald Trump says anything about this bill, says anything about the Speaker's handling of this or backs him for re-election for Speaker as he has done in the past. That's going to be a huge question as Republicans now grapple with the incoming president, and Trump grapples with the fact that some Republicans defied what he had demanded over the last couple of days.
Very interesting indeed. Manu Raju, a very busy guy up on Capitol Hill. Thank you very, very much. I want to get some analysis from our political experts who are here with me in the Situation Room. And Jeff Zeleny, a whirlwind 48 hours up and down. Now it's up. It looks like it's going to pass. There will not be a federal government shutdown. Give us your sense of how significant this is.
Well, look, I mean, this was yet one more example. We've lost track of how many recent examples there have been of spending bills. They come just to the brink of our government shutdown. But one thing that people know since the government shutdown of the first Trump administration, they are not good politics, particularly right before Christmas. This was something that obviously both sides viewed was not a good thing. But we learned a lot from the last 48 hours or so that will be instructive heading into the next year. One, Speaker Johnson, how weakened is he by all of this? We don't know quite yet. He's obviously hoping that some holiday charity perhaps steps in here and people forget some of this come January 3rd, but we'll see about that. But we also learned that Elon Musk is clearly much more influential than we even assumed. So look, as the Senate passes this evening, presumably, obviously they want to get out of town as well. We know that in the Trump era, it is going to be a challenge to govern. And the debt ceiling, we know why the president-elect wanted to get it out of the way now, but it is not. This is going to be a huge cloud and a challenge that's going to be awaiting him next year.
Once he's sworn in as president on January 20th, Kristen Holmes is with us. Kristen, earlier today, Trump posted this, and let me read what he posted. If there's going to be a shutdown of government, let it begin now under the Biden administration, not after January 20th under Trump. This is a Biden problem to solve, but if Republicans can help solve it, they will. What are you hearing right now of the reaction from inside the Trump camp?
Well, of course, Donald Trump and his allies want to pin this on the Biden administration, despite the fact that even Republicans have said publicly, some of them, that it was Donald Trump himself and Elon Musk who tanked this bill. They were expecting it to pass, and then he tweeted out that anyone who voted for it should be primaried. So the idea that this would fall on Biden, particularly when we haven't really seen Biden in the spotlight at all on this, it seems pretty far-fetched. But of course, this is Donald Trump trying to posture, trying to say that it's not going to fall on him. The one thing I do want to point out here, I think it's interesting, is I want to go back to what Jeff was saying about Speaker Johnson, because I really think this is going to be one of the most interesting dynamics here, particularly when it comes to Johnson, Trump, and Elon Musk. A few moments ago, Elon Musk seemingly was posting support of Johnson, saying the speaker did a good job with what he had. We know that usually what Elon has said in the past has come from Donald Trump, but then I got a text from a senior advisor essentially saying that this was Johnson's fault, not Donald Trump's fault, that Trump had mentioned that he wanted to deal with the debt ceiling early on, and that this was something that Johnson knew before putting forward this negotiated bill. The reason why that's interesting is that clearly they're throwing Johnson under the bus. So how this dynamic actually ends up playing out and where Trump's head is at, that'll be interesting to see as we go into the speaker's race.
A lot of questions still remain. Lauren Tomlinson, let's talk a little bit about the impact this is going to have on your party, the Republican Party. You're a Republican strategist. What is the state of chaos in the Republican Party right now?
I think what you're seeing is, it's an unhappy coalition right now, and it has been for a while with the Republican Party. You have the new members coming in, more of the Trumpians and the establishment. And I think we're going to see this type of push and pull, especially as these new members come in the next Congress. I also think it's interesting because Johnson, I kind of agree with you on Johnson's going to get the blame for this. He hasn't been able to lead his people throughout this. We've had lots of little scares like this throughout the past year. And I think this says a lot about what he should have done, which is he should have taken this head on, not just with the debt ceiling and negotiating with Trump early, but also passing the 12 appropriation bills in order. He had time to do this throughout the year. We could have had a lot of these debates before now. So I think that what you're going to see is it was a wish list for them to clear the decks for Trump to come in and have an aggressive agenda, but the honeymoon period is over. So Trump is now going to have to move from his campaign promises to what he's actually able to accomplish with a government that, at least in January, he'll have full control of.
What does it say to you, Ashley, at the end, that more Democrats voted for this legislation tonight than Republicans.
I mean, it says that Jeffries has the strongest hand in any negotiating.
Hakeem
Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has the strongest hand in any negotiation and will as we move into the next term. The Republicans are going to have the smallest majority, second smallest majority in American history after January. So it's a new day for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They're going to have to adjust themselves. But here's two really big takeaways for me, Wolf. One, this is Donald Trump's first loss. That cannot be overstated. His party bucked him, and the reality is they need Democratic votes. The second is, I feel for Jeffries. I used to work for Speaker Pelosi, and what you need when you're governing is a level of certainty, especially from the White House. So the question is, who's in charge? Who's in control? Is it Elon Musk? Is it Donald Trump? I mean, you know, the question, the outstanding question there leaves, I think, Johnson in this perilous position going forward, and that's really going to